What if I told you that this is the house I'm renting in Vietnam, and the monthly rent is cheaper than what many people spend on coffee in just 1 week? Sounds hard to believe, doesn't it? But it's true. Today, I'm going to take you on a tour of my little rental home, share exactly how much it costs to live here, and give you a glimpse into the everyday life of an ordinary Vietnamese person. Hi everyone, I'm Han. Welcome back to Hana in Vietnam, a born and raised Vietnamese. On this channel, I share the real side of Vietnam, our daily life, culture, food, and the little things that make this country special. At the moment, I split my time between two cities that are more than 500 kilometers, about 310 miles apart. Every time I travel between them, the journey takes almost 10 hours by bus. At first, I stayed in hotels whenever I came here for work. But after a while, I realized it was becoming quite expensive. More importantly, hotels never really felt like home. I wanted a place where I could cook my own meals, relax after work, grow a few plants, and simply enjoy a normal daily routine. That's why I decided to rent this house. Today, I'll show you every corner of it and tell you exactly how much I pay to live here. By the end of this video, you might have a different perspective on the cost of living in Vietnam. How would you feel if your entire daily life fit inside a space of less than 100 square meters? That's exactly how I live every day. Honestly, this house isn't very big. There's no fancy furniture, no large garden, nothing luxurious. But what I love most about this place is how peaceful it is. After a long day of work, coming home here is enough to make me feel relaxed. Many foreigners think living in Vietnam is incredibly cheap. That's both true and not entirely true. The cost of living depends a lot on where you live, your lifestyle, and what kind of life you want. My house is about 2.5 kilometers from the city center. It's close enough that I can reach downtown in just a few minutes by motorbike. At the same time, the rent here is much lower than living right in the city center. Personally, I think it's a pretty smart trade-off. Would you rather pay more to live downtown or save money by living just a little farther away? Let me know in the comments. Now let's talk about the part you're probably most curious about, the rent. I pay 3.5 million Vietnamese dong per month, which is about 135 US dollars. My lease lasts for 1 year. After that, I can renew it if both the landlord and I agree. When I moved in, I also paid a security deposit of 3.5 million Vietnamese dong. The landlord asked me to pay rent every 3 months. This house was built about 10 years ago. It's definitely not brand new, but the structure is still in good condition. Everything works just fine. When I first moved in, I spent some time cleaning and making a few improvements. Altogether, I spent around 5 million Vietnamese dong, or about 190 US dollars, on those improvements. Because I wanted to come home to a place that felt clean, comfortable, and welcoming. This is my living room. As you can see, it's very simple. There's no sofa, no coffee table, no fancy decorations. In Vietnam, sitting directly on the floor is actually very common. This is my bedroom. There's no big bed. I simply sleep on a mattress placed directly on the floor. That's actually quite common in Vietnam too. The most important thing for me is cleanliness. I clean this room almost every day. I also don't own a large wardrobe. The reason is simple. Moving heavy furniture every time I relocate is tiring and expensive. I prefer to keep only what I truly need. Every morning, I open the windows to let fresh air and sunlight in. Natural light makes the whole room feel brighter and more comfortable. It's my favorite way to start the day. The room isn't large, but for now, it's enough. I always remind myself that this is only one chapter of my journey. If I keep working hard and saving money, one day I'll have a home of my own. Some people might look at this room and think it's too simple. There are no expensive pieces of furniture, no luxurious bed, no fancy decorations. But to me, this is the place I come home to after a long day. A quiet place where I can rest. A place where I can plan for the future I dream of. I've come to realize that happiness doesn't always come from owning more. Sometimes it simply means having a roof over your head, a safe place to sleep, and another chance to wake up tomorrow and keep moving forward. There was a time when I thought I needed everything to be perfect before I could begin. A nicer home, better camera, more professional equipment. But then I realized, if I kept waiting for the perfect moment, I might never start at all. So I decided to begin with what I already have. This phone, this little room, and a dream that's much bigger than both. Maybe I don't have much today, but I know I'm moving in the right direction. Every video I create, every place I visit, every person I meet brings me one step closer to the life I'm working toward. Perhaps one day when I watch this video again, I'll smile and remember that everything started in this tiny room. And if you're also living in a small room or trying to build your life from nothing, I hope my story reminds you that you don't need everything to be perfect before you begin. You just need the courage to take the first step. This is my kitchen. After my bedroom, it's probably the room I use the most. Like many Vietnamese families, I usually cook at home. Cooking saves me money. But more importantly, I genuinely enjoy preparing my own meals. Most of the dishes I cook are simple Vietnamese home-cooked meals. Nothing fancy. Nothing expensive. Just delicious, comforting food. In another video, I'd love to show you how to cook some traditional Vietnamese dishes that we eat every day. I hope you'll enjoy it. Of course, I still eat out sometimes. Vietnamese street food is simply too good to resist. I like saving money. But I also believe it's important to treat yourself once in a while, as long as it's within your budget and not wasteful. Even though my kitchen is small, it has everything I need. If you look closely, you'll notice many traditional Vietnamese seasonings. Each one has its own unique flavor. And together they create the rich and diverse taste of Vietnamese cuisine. One of the things I enjoy most about cooking at home is how peaceful it feels. There's no rush. I simply turn on some music, prepare the ingredients, and cook at my own pace. It's one of the moments that helps me relax after a long day. In Vietnam, many families still have the tradition of sharing home-cooked meals together. Our meals don't have to be fancy. Sometimes it's just a bowl of soup, a savory dish, a plate of vegetables, and a bowl of steamed rice. But to us, that's already a complete and satisfying meal. I think that's one of the beautiful parts of Vietnamese culture. It's not about expensive or luxurious food. It's about taking the time to sit down, talk with one another, and enjoy a meal together. Those simple moments often become the most meaningful memories. If this is your first time learning about Vietnam, you might be surprised by how many fresh vegetables and herbs we eat. Fresh herbs, leafy greens, and boiled vegetables are part of our meals almost every day. They don't just make the food taste better, they also make each meal feel fresh, balanced, and healthy. Another thing I really appreciate is that Vietnamese people rarely like to waste food. If there's anything left after dinner, we usually store it in the refrigerator and enjoy it again the next day. It's a habit I've had since I was a child. I believe respecting food is also a way of showing gratitude to the people who worked hard to produce it. My kitchen may not be big or modern, but to me it feels warm and welcoming. Every meal I cook here becomes part of my everyday life and carries its own little story. I'm happy to share those simple moments with you. I hope that through videos like this, you'll get to know a little more about everyday life in Vietnam. Because sometimes it's the simplest things that leave the deepest impression. Outside, there's a tiny piece of land. I've turned it into a small garden. It might sound a little funny, right? There's barely enough space. But I still wanted to grow something. My favorite plant is this grapevine. I planted it quite a while ago. It probably needs more nutrients because many of the leaves have turned yellow. But today I noticed that some of the grapes are finally turning purple. I tasted them. They're sour, very, very sour. They may not be as big or as beautiful as the grapes you see in supermarkets. But to me, they're special because I grew them myself. I like gardening as naturally as possible. Watching plants grow little by little is incredibly relaxing. Sometimes happiness comes from the simplest things, and that's the little house I'm currently renting. It's not perfect. It's not luxurious, and there's nothing particularly impressive about it. But somehow it fits my life perfectly. When I first moved here, I wondered if such a small house would really be enough. After living here for a while, I realized that I actually need much less than I once thought. Every corner of this house has a purpose. Living in a small house has also taught me to be more intentional. Before I buy something new, I always ask myself, do I really need it? Instead of collecting more things, I'd rather collect more memories. This house may not look extraordinary, but some of my favorite moments happen right here. The smell of fresh coffee in the morning, the sound of rain falling outside, cooking a simple Vietnamese meal after a long day. These are small moments that many people might overlook. But for me, they make this place feel alive. People often think happiness comes from having a bigger house, a newer car, or more expensive things. But I've learned that happiness can also come from slowing down, from appreciating what you already have. This little house reminds me of that. It reminds me that a home doesn't have to be big to be meaningful. Sometimes a home is simply a place where you can breathe a little deeper, a place where you can rest, a place where you can be completely yourself. I'm curious, what does home mean to you? I'd love to hear your story. Please share it with me in the comments below. And don't forget to tell me which country you're watching from. If you enjoy honest videos about everyday life in Vietnam, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories I'd love to share with you, from Vietnamese food and culture to local traditions, everyday life, and hidden places that many tourists never get to see. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode of Hana in Vietnam.